Chris with One.Daily. Welcome back to the channel. Today, happy Staguday Day. Today we're going to take a look at a Stag Stockman that I have. It's a GEC. It's a pattern 82. So I just want to jump on here and show you guys a knife. So stick around and take a look. All right, have a great weekend. All right, here's today's knife. This is a GEC in the Northfield unexcelled trim, and it is the pattern 828314 Stockman in Natural Stag. On the back of the tubes, a lot of times they talk about whatever. They might tell a story. They might tell about the knife. On this particular one, I won't read it, but they go into the 9 different steps of how they select the stag for their knives and how they decide whether or not to burn it or keep it natural. And like it goes on saying in there that the natural stag is so nice, they set it aside and don't burn it. So it's not burned at all. This is just, you know, the way it comes looking in the first place. And so that's, I don't know, that's kind of cool. Now this guy is a little bit different of a set of tools, kind of, because we've got the, you know, California clip here or Turkish clip, and then it has a Warncliffe. So depending on this guy, which is not a spay, right? That's much more of a drop point blade that this guy has. You can see a little bit of rub. This is an older knife from 2014. Hence the handwritten writing on the tube and whatnot. And, you know, so this is kind of like starting to get vintage GEC. I think they first made knives in 07, 06, 07, 08 or something like that. Anyways, so yeah, I'm not, I mean, it's definitely a serpentine Stockman pattern. And this knife comes out to like 4 1/8. So it's a very, very good size knife, and some really beautiful stag with that unexcelled logo. So I'm reading this Great Eastern Cutlery book. Finally came, and it's starting to talk about you know, their purpose, what they were doing, but like, you know, Northfield, the company here, is a very old knife company, one of the first to inhabit the Connecticut area. And so I found in the Collector Knives book that's popular and I don't know, kind of starts to go for some insane prices in here. But I won't read all this, but just a little bit about the company. This company was formed when Samuel Mason, who learned the cutlery trade working in the Sheffield factory of Joseph Mappin and Sons, joined with several businessmen and lured a group of former Sheffield cutlers from their jobs in Waterville to Northfield, Connecticut, for the purpose of establishing a knife manufactory. The Northfield Knife Company was established in 1858 and made the first cast iron handled knives patented by Mason in 1862. So anytime you see a cast iron knife, the one that says the boy's knife, this dude Mason, he has the patent on that. Although the business prospered, Mason left the company in 1865 when ownership control passed to Franklin H. and John H. Catlin. Mason joined with Edward Benz in making knives at Rochester, Pennsylvania, and a company that would later become Beaver Falls Cutlery, which is another you know, famous cutlery that I think went out of business because they hired Chinese workers or something like that. Anyways, but later on down here, it starts to get into, in 1872, Charles N. Platts, you know, he became plant superintendent of, I think it was the American Knife Company, or no, of Northfield. Sorry, I'm not going to read all this to you, but it kind of leads into the Case family. They're all connected. But yeah, I just wanted to touch briefly. So that's what GEC is doing, is they're kind of trying to revitalize one of those older brands. And this has been done a bunch of times, but they're doing it really, really, really well. And one thing I read in that book that was very interesting to me is because around this time, like, the whole idea was America competing with Sheffield knives. At that time, Sheffield knives, like in the mid 1800s, were the standard, and there was a tariff battle that went on that started to make it impossible to get Sheffield knives in America, and so it made the U.S. cutlery industry very much take off. But all these cutlers, the Samuel Mason, anyone, all the Platts and all that going back, they all stem from English cutlers and some German as well. So what's interesting about that is this unexcelled logo, which is a logo that came into play for Northfield knives sometime after they started. What's really neat about that is that it's basically trying to emulate the IXL logo from England. And it's funny because at a certain point, U.S. made knives were trying to kind of play on English knives, because Sheffield knives were thought of as the highest quality. And then so the U.S. is trying to compete. So they're trying to kind of, pull in little things that will remind you maybe of a Sheffield or European made knife. And I just thought that was interesting. And then there's a point where once US takes over and is making most knives in the higher grade of cutlery, I guess I don't have an example, but in the book it says that England started to emulate American knives in some of their aesthetics or whatnot. So anyways, just trying to be quick here. Sorry, I always get very wordy, but I just wanted to show you guys a knife for Stagger Day. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. I think this is a fantastic knife. So guys, we've got the clip, but as far as I know, if I don't cut myself here, as far as I know, this is a drop point. This is a Warncliffe, right? And this is kind of a Turkish clip. Are any of those farm implements that would make this a Stockman, other than the Stockman being kind of a 3-blade, 2-spring knife? I thought it had to have a farm implement in it. Is one of these definitely a farm implement and I'm just misunderstanding? Hit me up in the comments, and have a great weekend, you guys. All right.